Andy Benoit, MMQB, Sports Illustrated, joins us now with a look at the Eagles and the Patriots, who will meet in Super Bowl 52. Andy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing good. As we said, a little surprised, I guess, that the Eagles are here. I mean, 7-9 last year. I don't know there was a lot of expectations for this team coming in, but obviously they've had a special run in the playoffs, and I want to kind of get your take on they've made this run based on their defense. Did we see this from their defense? Is the defense a surprise to you?
Not a surprise necessarily. I think it is playing better than it has at 8 point in the season. And if you did want to point to where that's coming from, who has stepped it up, so to speak, you'd probably say those corners, Jalen Mills. I guess he's been great if you confuse him with Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby. And when you have, in that scheme, those corners, they're asked to win one-on-one on the perimeter. And so when you have that and then you're succeeding there, and then you've got safeties who are versatile and can match up, which you have with McLeod and especially with Jenkins, and then Corey Graham, who comes off the bench in their dime package on third downs often. That's a solid secondary. And what really puts that over the top then is that front four, of course, where you know it's the best front four in the NFL. And so not only do you get the benefit of that, but that solid secondary with those guys playing better and more confidently, they can play more aggressively too. And they're playing in zone, and they can trust that the front four is going to get home, so I'm going to sit and squat on these routes. I'm going to be aggressive at jumping patterns out of my zone. You can play that way when everybody starts getting their rhythm, and you've got a dominant front four where it all begins from.
Andy, last week you wrote about how the Vikings would make things tough for Nick Foles. Why were they not able to do it? What did Foles and the Eagles do to kind of combat this Vikings defense, which I think most people in the league would say was the best in the league?
Yeah, and I would too. I thought that going in, and I thought they would try to make things tough on Foles by showing him one look, and we're talking mainly third downs here, showing him one look, maybe those double A gap pressure looks that Mike Zimmer's known for, and then dropping out and giving him a different look after the snap. And the idea was don't let Foles throw the ball early in the down. Make him have to hold the ball and read the entire defense and make him have to play from the pocket because he's a little bit methodical, and when he's uncomfortable, that methodicalness that he has that he throws with, it also becomes a decision-making issue, and he's not a quick decision-maker when he's not comfortable. So that was the approach, and Minnesota took that approach for the most part. What happened that I don't think anyone could have foreseen, I don't think the Eagles foresaw it, was Foles was great. He played great anyways. He played great late into the down. They did make him hold the ball, and he looked like Carson Wentz, who, in my opinion, is right up there with Tom Brady this season as the best late in the down quarterback in the NFL. And that ability to extend plays is enormous. And even better, and this is what you got with Wentz and why he's so special, and this is what Foles did in that championship game, the ability to extend plays without breaking down the play structure. And in other words, extending the play from the pocket. And that's what Foles did. He moved with subtlety and nuance within the pocket and then was willing and able to make difficult downfield throws off of that movement. That is big-time, high-level quarterbacking. I don't think that can be taught. I've never seen it from Foles, not over the course of an entire game where he did it several times, and he did it every single quarter of the game. That was the difference. And it'll be fascinating to see if, A, he does that in the Super Bowl, and B, how do the Patriots game plan for him? How does Doug Peterson game plan? Do these coaches believe he can do that again?
Well, Andy, that kind of leads into my question then. What you thought the X factor was for the Eagles versus Minnesota, and can that same X factor help them beat New England, or will it need to be a different X factor?
Well, that gets into kind of what we're wondering here is, can you expect that from Foles? I mean, that's a huge X factor. If you get a quarterback that makes plays late into the down, that's going to win you the game a lot because defenses are not designed to win late in the down, especially if you're not breaking down the play design. Because if you think about when Russell Wilson runs outside the pocket and does something neat, he extends the play, he's usually about half the field, and half the receivers go out of play because it's only to whatever side of the field he runs to that he's throwing. When you extend plays within the pocket, the defense must defend the entire field that much longer. All 5 of your routes or 4 routes, whatever you got out there, they're all in play still. It's almost impossible to defend. So if Foles could do that, and that's the X factor of all X factors, I think the responsible thing for Doug Peterson to do is certainly you don't rely on that. I don't think you go into this game banking on Foles doing that. That's what they did with Carson Wentz. They would bank on him being able to do it because he's a special player. I think Peterson needs to approach the game the same way he did with Minnesota, which is we're going to try to present some easy decisions, some quick decisions for Foles, have him throw to the running backs, those RPOs that are becoming trendy with them. We're going to do that too. And if Foles shows that he's comfortable, we'll open up the game plan as things progress. But let's come in and be what we have been the last few weeks. We're going to run the ball, and Nick Foles will be a complimentary player to us.
So, Andy, Philly has the defensive line to get the pressure on Tom Brady, but do you think they should be able to get there and get home with constant pressure on him? Does that seem to be the recipe to beat him?
Well, if you do beat them, that's how you're going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean if you do it, you will beat them, though. It's not a guarantee, but you have to do that to have a chance to beat them. And it's interesting because I think if a year ago or certainly 2 years ago, if we'd had this conversation, my answer would be, yeah, that's how you beat Brady. Get him uncomfortable in the pocket, get him moving and feeling ghosts in the pocket. But this season, the stuff we just talked about that Foles did and that Wentz did all season long, extending plays late into the down from the pocket, Brady did that all season, which is incredible to me because that's hard to do when you're 40 years old. It takes a lot of arm strength. He's always had the pocket toughness and the downfield vision from there, but it's hard to play from a muddy pocket in the NFL, and Brady's been as good as anyone at that. He's a whole different style of player right now in some regards than he was last time we saw him in the Super Bowl, or at least back in that Seattle Super Bowl, let's say. So, yeah, you want to get pressure on Brady. You need to. You can't do it by blitzing. You have to keep all your guys back in coverage and get there with 4 men. Philly's certainly capable of it, but Brady is a lot more capable of eluding those rushers within the pocket than we think. Brady's not mobile, but his pocket mobility is extraordinary.
He senses everything, and that's why at 40 years old, he's still playing as well as he ever has. Andy Benoit's with us, Sports Illustrated, MMQB. You talk about which version of Nick Foles will the Patriots game plan for. You wonder how Doug Peterson mixes into all this, because we really felt that Peterson got the better of Dan Quinn and Mike Zimmer. Is it too much to ask if he will get the better of Bill Belichick? And I guess we will find out through the way he game plans with his quarterback.
Yes, we will, and I agree with you. I think he did get the better of Zimmer in that game. I would give Jim Schwartz a lot of credit for the win against Atlanta. That's the other thing that's been impressive with Philadelphia is their first win really was a defensive slugfest. I believe the score is 15-10. Points were scored on short field. Field position was a big deal. They hit their quarterback, and Philly won with the strength of its defense, and it was a nice performance. You're going to need both sides of the ball in this one. We've talked about Brady so much, and rightfully so. That New England defense quietly has allowed the fewest points in the NFL since Week 5. And I think they've given up, they've given up very little points in this postseason so far. So that's a two-side of the ball battle, and it's going to be fascinating to see. These are two very well-coached teams, though. They've got good coordinators. That's the other part. Coordinators are really the ones that do most of the game planning, and these teams have excellent coordinators on all 4 sides of the ball.
So, Andy, what I want to know is 53-man roster versus 53-man roster. Who do you like better?
In those terms, I like New England better, and I think the Tom Brady factor can't be overlooked. I know Nick Foles played well. It's Tom Brady versus Nick Foles, and the responsible choice, if we have to predict games, I'm going to predict Tom Brady there. And if we took the quarterbacks out of that equation and just a 52 versus 52-man roster, I think I'm still probably taking New England. I love the versatility that their skill position players present. Their wide receivers are better than Philadelphia's wide receivers. Where the Eagles are better is in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And that, again, if they're going to win this game, it's going to be winning thoroughly in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
It should be a fun matchup, Andy. I don't know that I've ever seen a team statistically anyway. The Eagles scored one less point this year than New England, and they gave up one less point than New England. They both scored 28.6. They both give up 18.5. So we will see what gives next Sunday. Andy Benoit from MMQB. Check out Sports Illustrated's MMQB. Great NFL stuff, Andy. We appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, guys.